Oh, who, me? Who, me? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you shouldn't have. Oh, you really should have. Hi, welcome everyone to the Inside Star Citizen Review, a show that is the longest lasting review show of Star Citizen and its development on YouTube. And you are here. If you're on YouTube, please press the like button and get down here with our amazing live fam. Do it. It's a fun time. Now let's see what this week's Inside Star Citizen is all about.
At first glance, Star Citizen is a game about spaceships. But when you look under the surface, we're really building a universe of the first person, with trading and lading, exploration, and devastation. And over the next few weeks, we'll be exploring such character-related features as the new personal persistent hangars, new visor, lens, inventory, and shopping apps, the character customizer, which is so good I'm just gonna already tell you we're covering that next week, and much more. But before we leave our combat era of ISC, this week we're sitting down with members of Team Nuck. We really gotta get these new teams new names. To discuss all the FPS combat-related changes coming in Alpha 323. Let's find out more.
Go on, then.
Oh, is this FPS combat
action? Power shot. So Bill sitting down.
Very excited about this. I love the run and gun, man. This is going to be a good episode, isn't it? I love PvP of all types, man. I love PvP of all types.
Oh, wow, dude, you're so cool.
I know. My mom thinks I'm wicked, mate.
This is my boomstick!
Is that Jared? That's Jared, isn't it? Don't run, Jared. Stop it.
This game is 930 years in the future. Why does reloading matter?
Reloading, I think, matters because from a player perspective, it makes you think ahead of the combat that you're about to go into.
Because it's part of a classic FPS experience. I think it adds to the tactical element of gameplay, thinking on the fly, and it's also quite satisfying to reload weapons. I find it satisfying anyway.
You give a little bit of thought that the situation you're going to put yourself into, it feels a bit more immersive.
We obviously have a bit more of a complex system with our magazines. So we obviously have magazines on the suit, and we also have magazines in your backpack.
You need to make sure that these magazines are as full as possible. So we are making you think ahead about the combat situation that you're going to go into.
So for Alpha 323, reloading is kind of two parts. First, you've got your backpack reloading, and then you've got your ammo repooling.
So backpack reloading solves a problem where, for example, you find yourself in a situation in a combat, and you need to reload, but you don't have any spare mags on your suit, but you have in your backpack.
What you can do now is pull additional magazines from your backpack at the cost of an increased reload time.
It was just filling up a lot of your inventory, so we basically decided with backpack reload.
Okay, that's not bad. Some people would say that would be dumbing it down a little bit, and tactically speaking, they'd want somebody to have to go through the backpack. What do you guys think? Do you like this feature? Push a 1. If you're in the live chat right now, push a 1 if you like it, push a 2 if you do not. I'm very curious what you guys say about this.
Loading that we wanted to kind of condense that gameplay and just do it more on the fly.
Yeah, I'm kind of going towards 1 myself.
Reload, but it takes a little bit longer. It's going to play a very simple animation. So the combat flow isn't broken, but you still need to think ahead because this...
All 1s, by the way, in the chat, just so you guys know, and if you can't read, if you're looking down here on YouTube, you can't see them, which I don't know, you should be watching me on a large movie screen, so you should be able to see the live fans here, but all of them are putting 1s down.
Long reload duration can be painful in the combat if you're not careful.
Because we really want to incentivize players to think about when they're going into combat, what they need to think about, how much magazines they want to keep on them, and how much they want in their backpack.
The last thing you really want to do is pull out, open a UI and pull out magazines from here and move them across there. This allows you to keep in the combat, in the action, without having to go through inventory menus.
You will be able to see how many magazines on your suit and how full they are, and a backpack icon if you have magazines on your backpack. And if you see no magazines icon but a backpack icon, then you'll understand that the next reload you're going to do is going to be a backpack reload. So it keeps you in the flow. But it forces you to wait a little bit. The punishment of not preparing yourself is still there, but it's lighter, it's more forgiving.
I like that. I have to say, I like that.
The idea being that if you've got lots of, let's say, should we take a 30 mag ballistic magazine? Let's say you've got 15, 15, 15, you've got 3 half-empty magazines. The idea being is you just hit a key binding, the animation will play like a rummage, and basically those magazines will condense down into full magazines and then automatically discard the empty ones.
As a result of this process, you will save your precious suit item ports, and then you will have your ammo condensed into your fuller magazine, so you're ready to unleash the full potential onto your enemies.
So with our new UI...
Yeah, that UI is looking really sleek like that. I really like that.
By display HUD, we've basically got a number of the bullets in your magazine, and then we've also got a number of your combined bullets on your total player.
And duration of this operation is going to depend on how much ammo you're shifting around and the type of ammo that you're shifting around. So repelling pistol magazines is going to take a different amount of time than repelling rockets, for example.
That means that we're spending less time in the inventory screen and more time actually in gameplay.
This all will be in 3.23, but after that, we will be looking into throwables and consumables. So you will be able to repull your grenades and your med pens. And there are still a couple of unclear points about some weapons. For example, multi-tool and its salvage canisters. We're still exploring what options we have over there.
So recoil is part of the identity of the weapon, and it will also allow players to express their skill in a certain way. We have different kinds of recoil, very subtle recoils and very wild recoils, and depending on that you can paint an image of either this is a very harsh, very, very aggressive assault rifle or a very gentle pistol, maybe even with a silencer on top of it. When I've been watching CitizenCon and we showed the new recoils, one of the biggest feedbacks was, those are laser weapons. They don't have recoil.
Oh God! If I see one more forum post about like why do laser guns not? Well, why don't laser guns have recoil? It drives me up the wall.
Laser weapons in the first place, like we have them, are really unrealistic for themselves, right? There are no big laser projectiles that come out of weapons. So giving them recoil is very sensible for a game. I think getting rid of recoil in that sense is just boring gameplay.
It's fun. It needs to be in there. You know, you need a...
I don't know if I agree with that 100%. I would say that like lasers shouldn't have recoils and have reduced damage because of it. Or, you know, they would be super accurate, but that not have the recoil and have reduced damage outputs perhaps could be the fix. I don't know if I would agree that laser weapons should have recoil, but I'm a super uber nerd, you know what I mean?
A challenge when shooting people, you need a challenge when tracking people.
I think you need recoil in order to balance the game and make it fun for everybody.
You'll see in 3.22 we put the new procedural recoil in, and it looks mint, I think, personally. The weapons now use our entirely new procedural system. And the nice thing about the procedural system is it means that we can basically have shot-to-shot differences be massive. So you'll see when you fire the P4 now, it can basically be an entirely different bit of your screen than it was in the previous shot. Whereas before we had a very linear motion. Imagine before the recoil would essentially go like this on your camera. But now it can be, you know, kind of doing this all around the place. Far more aggressive, and the overall feeling of it is like, oh my God, this is actually a gun. So some of this is in 3.22, and some more is coming in 3.23. So for example, the sniper rifles, these are going to have, the majority of sniper rifles will have the new procedural recoil, and the majority of the pistols will have the new procedural recoil. So you'll see some of the pistols, their personality will have changed a little bit, but their functionality will still be the same. And you'll see the snipers basically feeling a lot more powerful and angry, as you've seen with the other weapons that have had their passes.
And with the new recoil system, this just feels like a real weapon, and it feels like this thing just has impact, right?
You know, you want your weapon to feel angry. If the weapon is just stable and still on the screen, you'd be like, oh, this feels pants.
These are finishing touches. These are finishing, polishing touches. Again, Squadron 42, I think, is very, very close.
So we have not only just scopes, we have a whole new suite of iron sights for the majority of our weapons. So what this has done is we've essentially got stuff that has raised the camera upwards and given a better target acquisition window. This is obviously with a lot of sci-fi guns. They're very chonky, they're very kind of fat, which is just how a lot of sci-fi things are. So naturally, we've managed to improve upon this by saying, hey, you've still got that fat chonkiness, but we've raised the camera up and we've managed to make the sightline cleaner for your, for example, your Kana rifle. On the scope side of things, we've basically overhauled how they work. So previously, if you were looking at anything that is, you know, an 8x or above, it would basically have a black border around the actual scope bit itself. But now that is gone.
Yeah, that's clean. That's clean. I like that.
The guys did an amazing job at implementing the shaders for these. So the scopes just look way more realistic than they used to be. Nice reflections and a parallax effect. This is something different.
Just a gorgeous view. I can't wait for you guys to see them. It's probably the most exciting thing for me personally in 323.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job polishing up scopes, the way they look. They do feel like they are a little bit more like weaponry with that recoil. I hope they don't go a little too crazy with it, but it does give it like mass. It does give it that feeling like I am holding a boomstick. You know what I mean? Like I'm holding something that will damage you. By the way, Aether got his prize, February's giveaway. Congratulations. Let's let everybody know Aether's awesome. Aether won. St. Grizz did send it over, and Aether, I believe, did receive his Vanguard Warden. Thank you, St. Grizz, for all that you do, bro. We love you if you're watching, dude. St. Grizz, we couldn't do this without you, and that was an awesome prize. We have Stunner's prize coming up for March. We will have that after the Inside Star Citizen review. So if you are watching on YouTube, Saturday is when we're going to release the official video, but if you were here live tonight, you would get a sneak peek at what we're giving away.
If you look through the scope, you actually see the scope inside. And depending on if it's a holographic scope, a telescopic scope, or a TV screen scope, the shader will look different as well. And then we took it and brought it to basically every scope, adjusted the shader so that it looks nice on that particular scope, and added a few other functionalities to scopes as well.
Right,
for example, we will have multiple zoom levels on scopes. Currently, we just have 8x zoom, but in the future, for 323, we will be able to have 8x and 16x zoom, or 2x and 4x zoom.
And because our new recoil is a lot more aggressive and dynamic, it means that the reticle is moving as you'd expect on screen relative to where the actual barrel is. So not only does it help with the new procedural recoil, it also helps with the believability of the optics as well.
So I think the whole scope experience, or ADS experience with scopes, is just gonna get better from here on.
Keep the reticle inside the scope when you're seeing the recoil. Just like Backspace says, we're seeing some of that reticle bounce outside of the scope. We want you to make it right. So we did notice that while watching, so good catch on that, Backspace.
Dynamic Crosshair is also coming in Alpha 323.
Dynamic Crosshair it's in the name, it's a crosshair. But the good thing about our crosshair is it's a little more futuristic, a little bit more sci-fi.
So in 323, when you equip a combat visor, you'll have a dynamic crosshair on your screen. This follows the barrel of the gun, which is really cool because if you're reloading and you pull the gun up like that, the crosshair will actually go off screen like that. So it fits into the aesthetic of Star Citizen because it's grounded in the context of where the barrel actually is, which is really cool because if you've got a pistol which shoots a bit more up like this, it actually follows it as you would expect. Previously, you were always kind of point shooting, and it causes a problem in not knowing how big your crosshair actually is for your weapon. So we had to make the spread on the weapons a bit smaller than usual because if you're going to point shoot, you have the issue of like, where is my bullet actually going to go? This allows us to say, hey, this is actually kind of what your cone of spread is, and we can increase the spread values of weapons themselves. which leads to better gameplay and people actually focusing on ADSing down sights, even in like 10-meter engagement ranges.
And it also just gives that player a little bit of extra information, so when you're hiding behind a wall or you're close to proximity with an object, the crosshair is actually going to let you know if you're going to hit the object or if you're going to shoot past it.
I heard people saying this is unrealistic. I'm fairly certain we can do this with our technology today, so 900 years in the future shouldn't be a problem to have at least military tech to have this crosshair component to them.
It's a crosshair that...
I like that they use that when convenient. Like they're using that for an excuse, like that's why it's there in the future. But in the lasers, for lasers and recoil, they're going the opposite way. Like that is kind of like...
not only fits the aesthetic of Star Citizen, but cleanly fits into what you'd expect for Star Citizen as well.
We are able to deactivate it, so if you don't like it...
Translation, this is what the translation is to the fans. We're going to do whatever we want to do. See, I don't like that because then, you know, like the fans' voices are very important and FPS is also very important, you know? And when you're using that as an example for both why you're doing something and why you're and then just ignoring it, you're starting off like ignoring fans and saying, oh well, lasers shouldn't have recoils because we want fun, and then you're saying, oh well, the magic crosshair is there. you guys get what I'm saying. You guys get what I'm saying. Because we're in the future.
There's a menu option for you. You can also disable the new hit markers independently of the crosshair. So if you just prefer to keep the hit markers, you can keep them. If you prefer to keep the crosshair and not the hit markers, you can do that as well.
So you can fully utilize it to make it your own, what you want from the game. So you can have it completely off or on. And then we have things like, obviously, updated hit markers, and we also have a final hit red X as well to let you know that you've confirmed that kill.
It's a completely optional feature, but I think you're gonna like it.
So I think the reason why I'm so excited and the team is so excited about why these new changes to FPS are going to be so dynamic and completely change the game is I just think it makes our game so much more modern. It makes it so much more lively and really expressive. Now weapon manufacturers are going to have much more of a unique brand to them. And the same with with our new amazing scopes. You know, if you compare the scopes that we
also now get AI to be challenging. That'll also help with FPS. That'll help with the combat as well. You know, I'm glad to see these changes. I'm glad to see these changes for the most part because it is cleaner looking. Definitely love the reload, and we'll see what the recoil is. You know, I hope they don't go too crazy on it, but from what I've seen so far, I like the looks of it.
We have now to what we have coming in 3.23, it is going to be completely, I think, game-changing.
We're obviously going to do things in the future, like when we get wear and tear in, apply wear and tear to when you shoot those things, because we still want that to be a believable experience. Bullet blocking is an issue. It will literally be gone from like grenades and magazines and everything like that, so even backpacks. So people previously would have to shoot people in the legs if they wanted to consistently land shots, which is a problem because realistically that's not a good feeling of like, I'm behind you, I have to shoot you in the legs so I can focus on shooting you in the chest now.
We really like the fact that the crosshair is basically kind of starting the whole archetypes for armors. So as we move down into the PU, we want our armor sets to become more specific to their needs.
If you look at our game, half of this is basically FPS combat, and these improvements will bring the FPS combat to AAA standard and make it feel like a more polished experience. It's not something that you can put into words, but something that that you will appreciate while playing our game. And I hope all of these changes make your time in the verse more fun.
I think this just is so much more about gameplay. It's less about getting bogged down in menus. It's more about on the action. And it also integrates so amazingly with our HUD.
A fluid experience, which is what we're aiming for, which is what we really want to deliver. I'll see you in a bit. Oh, I have to get the microphone. Yeah.
So, what did we learn this week? We probably can't do this in a helmet. We learned that procedural recoil system reaches all FPS weapons in Alpha 3.23. That the dynamic crosshair will enable some occasional hipfire goodness. That new scopes means better ways to refund your enemies' lives. And that reloading changes means more of the pew pew and less of the phew phew. Sometimes I hate me too.
Stop it, Jared. Stop it, Jared. So overall, looks better. UI functionality better. Reload feature, I like. Lasers recoiling, not so much. Dynamic crosshair, not so much. You know, like I prefer a little bit more realism to that, but I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it a little bit more in the flow. They're trying to keep the game like immersive in terms of like getting you that style where you are just continually in this flow of consciousness stream fighting. You know, I understand what they're trying to do. I get it. They're going to apply this. Obviously, they've been working on this in Squadron 42. I think by looking at this, I'm seeing like polishing. I'm seeing like end polishing features on FPS, which is really good because it makes me feel like Squadron 42 is actually closer than a lot of people think. And so overall, that's my summation from what I've watched.
For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you.
What's up, Sketch?
We'll see you all here next week. For the character customizer.
Yeah, they did also say that you could turn the UI elements off as well. Backspace is right. Well, cool. Overall, I think it's kind of a quick, fast episode, but
I'm in a fountain.
Feeling good tonight. Thanks, Butts. Listen, if you're still watching on YouTube, get your butts over here live with these amazing people. We are going to be watching the giveaway that will be released officially on Saturday night. So thank you, YouTube, for watching. But try and get here live.